Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk. My name is Josh Holcomb. I'm the CIO for IG Tech 365. And today I wanted to talk about cyber attacks being on the rise. And if you like the content that we're putting out for you guys, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe below and make sure you hit the notification bell if you want to get our content first. So let's jump right into it. Cyber attacks, as the internet is becoming the daily norm, with cell phones in our pockets, being able to access anyone anywhere. Believe it or not, I've seen and done research on what platforms and the type of machines that attackers have used to infiltrate other people's systems. And something as simple as a smartphone can be used in a lot of ways to do those same things. So you don't have to necessarily be the guy in the dark corner that everybody thinks about as a hacker. Being able to infiltrate other people's devices. There are people that literally are sitting in the same coffee shop as you that are able to access your cell phone, pull your personal data through blue snarfing or other means that are very simple to deploy and very simple to deploy at scale, especially to someone unfamiliar with the technology that's out these days. So let's get right into it and talk about cyber attacks. What is a cyber attack and why they happen, right? So cyber attacks are anything that is an unwelcome attempt to steal, expose, disable, or destroy information through unauthorized access to some sort of computer systems. That would include tablets and phones as well at this point, and not limited to, but including video game systems as they are becoming more technologically advanced. Some of these systems allow you to browse the internet and other things. So, therefore, that does become an attack surface. So, why are they happening? Well, we've identified through research that there are three main motivations that are out there, being criminal, personal, and political. And we're going to talk a little bit about all three of those. Just very briefly, criminally motivated hackers seek out financial gain through like business disruption, blackmail, or even theft. Um, Now, a personally motivated attack would or could be a former employee, an ex girlfriend, whatever that person that had some sort of lingering hostility towards either the company or person uh, tried to go in and take money or data in an attempt to disrupt whatever company is out there that they're trying to um, actually create some sort of negative repercussion for, right? So, and lastly, politically motivated attacks are usually used when seeking attention for their cause or maybe a cause they're getting paid to support. And that we've seen that in elections and other and plenty of other areas around the world. So let's identify who's behind these cyber attacks, right? So you have a couple of different types that we've identified being internal and external. Internal threats would include like the people who have authorized access to the company assets and abuse them. So, someone in your company that has access to your files, your data, pictures, things like that, things that could be proprietary or confidential in nature, um, and that you would never typically expect them to steal or disclose or use them for their own personal gain. But this happens very often, and the only way to stop these kind of behaviors from happening is tighten some of these security controls and make sure that you are using education for the other employees that are around, because typically these things happen in the middle of broad daylight when nobody's expecting. Somebody's in their office, they're quote, quote, working around the clock, doing their thing and making your company more profitable. At least that's what you think. Until you discover that there's a ton of data that got lost or stolen, and they're selling it to somebody else for a profit, to maybe one of your competitors. Um, And then there's external threats, and those would include like criminal groups, professional hackers that could possibly be state sponsored, like some of the things that happened in Ukraine, Russia, those kind of things, and amateur hackers, which are like the hacktivist type people. So that being said, these external threats require much more skill to pull off, because somebody that you trust, it's much easier for them to take advantage of you, where these external threats are going to have to do research in order to gain access. They're going to have to deploy things like social engineering, where they're calling your employees and trying to get passwords and really trying to do all of the front end legwork so that when they do get in, that they can elevate their permissions and really achieve the goal that they're looking to do. So what do cyber attacks target? Typically, we found that financial data inside of a business is one of the first things that they're looking for. Business account numbers, routing numbers, credit card numbers, those kind of things. They're looking to either take and use, or they will literally sell the data on the dark web, and now you've lost a bunch of money, and then you're having to deal with that. So that causes a business disruption all in itself. But other things like client lists, we know for a fact this is one of the most common cyber threats, is getting customer data, because customer lists are so hard to come by that people sell them on a day-to-day basis. Companies like Hoover's sell you list of leads so that you can make contact with new potential clients, right? So if you had a ton of clients or list of customers, potential customers, leads, those kind of things, these are a target rich environment. Everybody is looking to pull the trigger on that, get that list, get it out, and start marketing to your customers, especially if they're a competitor. Customer financial data and customer databases. So hopefully you are protecting and encrypting customer financial data in your systems. And if not, don't worry. Make sure you reach out to igtech365.com. You can reach us at sales at igtech365.com, and we'll be happy to help you. Or you can reach out at 866-365-7798. And we'll have one of our specialists really kind of take a look at your network, at your data, and make sure you're being protected as much as you can, right? So they're also looking for login credentials. Why? Well, if we can get login credentials that we can elevate, maybe we get lucky enough to get an administrator so that we can kind of move around through all of the files that are there. We can kind of pick and choose what we want, and we can take that data and once again monetize it in somehow, some way. So other information is like sensitive personal data. Sensitive personal data is probably one of the more common ones, because we see a lot of identity theft out there recently. And what we found is that if you have companies that are storing your employees like new hire packets that in an unencrypted form, they can get their social security numbers, they can get their bank account information from direct deposit forms, tons of other information that is personally identifiable and sensitive to those people. And next thing you know, you've got a leak of data that has completely destroyed somebody's credit or other factors that can come into play there. So what are the common types of cyber attacks, right? So cyber criminals use their tools to attack their targets' personal computers, computer networks, IT systems, and IT infrastructure. And when I tell you IT infrastructure, it gets very deep here. Guys, I got to let you know that there have been cases where people have literally used a thermostat connected to the internet and an app somewhere so that people could control it remotely in order to infiltrate a system. So be careful how you're setting your networks up. And once again, if you do need any advice, feel free to reach out to IG Tech 365. We have a specialist that can help you with that. They use things like backdoor Trojans, right? So viruses, malware, in order to get in. They're sending you emails that they hope you click on a link. And when you do, you download a file, you open it up. Next thing you know, it may be a complete bogus piece of paper. You open up that Word document and it's got, nothing intelligent written on it. And you close it and yeah, okay, well, that was a bogus email. You don't think anything of it. And then next thing you know, that Trojan or that virus is propagating throughout the rest of your network and essentially creating an issue that can put a lot of downtime. And from an IT perspective, we're sitting in the background hoping that this doesn't happen. We're deploying our tools to try to keep it from happening. But once you've clicked on that virus and it's infiltrated and it starts propagating throughout your network, it can spread very quickly and sometimes too quick for us to mitigate that right away. So at the end of the day, we want to be protected. And the best way to do that is through education, especially when it comes to the next type of attack, which is phishing, which is one of the most common that we've seen recently. Phishing attempts, scammers use methods of like sending an email to you or a text message that appears to be from a legitimate source, but they're fake hyperlinks meant to steal people's information, right? So the best example that I can talk about is like on the slide that we're looking at right now, right? You get an email saying, hey, your password's about to expire in 1 day. Click this link, go ahead. And it looks like a benign myuniversity.edu/renewal. That looks completely legitimate to me. Now, what I would say is that number one, we want to click up where you see My University from that, the sender of the email. We want to click on that first. We want to make sure that it's got a legit email because in a lot of cases, if it's not myuniversity.edu at the very end of their email, and it's not spelled exactly, there's no, instead of the I, maybe it's a 1. Instead of an A, maybe it's the @ sign. So these types of kind of spoofing or imitating an email address are very, very common, and it is hard to spot if you're not looking properly. The other thing is hovering over that myuniversity.edu/renewal link. When you hover over that at the bottom corner, you should be able to, or at least copy that link and then paste that link right into a web browser without actually going to it. When you do that, or you can copy and paste it into a notepad file and just take a look, right? When you look, what you're going to find in a lot of cases, especially if it is a phishing email, is it's not going to say myuniversity.edu in that address. It's going to be something else. It's going to be someone taking you to another place that's going to look just like your Gmail needs to be reset. It's going to look, that web page is going to look identical. I'm telling you right now, these attackers are very, very good. Happens a lot with Microsoft as well, not just with Google, not just with Gmail, but it does happen quite frequently. But I'm here to tell you that in a lot of cases, and in most cases, Microsoft or Google are never going to send you an email saying that your password needs to be reset, that it's expiring. And even if they do, who cares, right? Let it expire, log in the correct way, put your password in where you're actually going directly to it, right? And then reset it that way, if that is the case. That's my suggestion for you guys. It'll save you a lot of headache in the future. So let's talk about the effects of cyber attack, right? And how that's going to affect your business. So basically what we have found is malware attacks can cause systems to crash, which is going to bring your business down, right? So viruses, malware, any of that stuff, when you can't use your systems, when you can't use your computers because they're too slow to use, every time you boot it up, it crashes. Like it's costly from a hardware perspective if you can't clean it, right? Or what if you had all your data sitting on there and you didn't have a backup and recovery plan, right? Now you've been infected. You can't get your data back because you have to reload Windows on that machine. So now your business is essentially, it's not a business anymore. You have no data, right? So at that point, what are your options? I mean, a lot of people are filing bankruptcy at that time, closing their business and trying to start over again. But at the end of the day, we don't want that to happen to you. So make sure that you're deploying antivirus software. Make sure that you're using the proper IT techniques. And if you don't know them, and you can't recite them, and you don't have policies in place, please give us a call. We're happy to help in any way. These things don't cost a lot of money, but they will definitely keep you from spending all of your money later on down the road in trying to recoup what you've lost. So, ransomware attacks are another example, and they can disable your systems. So, basically, what happens is they send you a link, they send you a document that has a virus in it. What that virus does is it sits and wait, and it will actually go to every file that's on your computer. It can actually propagate out throughout your organization depending upon what kind of security that you've deployed. But once it gets in, what it does is it goes to every file on that it can, right? And it actually puts in an additional file that's right there beside every file that you have. And then it encrypts the file so you can't read it. Every time you open it, there's that other little file that's right below it that tells you to send Bitcoins to this account or whatever. And if you do that within 48 hours, they will give you the encryption key to unlock all of your data. So you can imagine the blackmail or the way that you're feeling at that moment when you've been infected, you can't get anything back, everything's encrypted, you can't read it, you can't use it, everything's gone, basically. And the only way you're getting it back is by paying these attackers whatever it is that they're asking for. And that could be $1, it could be $500, it could be $5 million, right? So depending upon how much the data is worth, I'm sure that they've already done their research. They know what the data is worth, and they're going to ask for an appropriate amount. So stolen data can happen. Data loss, where they're actually just going in and deleting stuff when they were able to get in. That's usually like internal threats. I've seen, disgruntled employees come back in through, a VPN that never got shut down for them, and literally delete every file that they could get their hands on, all because the offboarding process wasn't followed correctly. So keep that in mind. Another thing that phishing attempts that we're seeing commonly now is people will send phishing attempts saying, hey, your Gmail password or your Microsoft password for your email is expiring. They go in, you click the link, you reset your password, but you never really reset your password. You just gave them your old password so that they could get in. Then they go in, they create rules in your email that send all new mail to the trash can or to one of the other folders that is very unassuming. Like RSS feeds is a common one for Microsoft. Archive is a common one for Gmail. So these are folders they're sending all your new mail to. So you're not getting any new mail. But what they do is they take all of your contacts and then they spam them with things like porn links or some other type of advertising that they're trying to do to get you to click on something to get money, or maybe your information as well. So that's super common. And the only way to really combat that is through education. And then if it does happen, acting quickly in an attempt to make sure that we reset the password immediately, get rid of any rules that are in there, and then recover those emails that have been sent back to you, putting those back into inbox or whatever box that you needed them put into. So how do we reduce some of these cyber attacks? Well, first of all, hardware. is key in a lot of cases. Installing a firewall, make sure that it's configured correctly, making sure that your software firewalls on any of the computers that are in your building are on, and those are configured correctly as well. Keeping your software up to date is critical, especially with Microsoft Windows, right? You see all the updates all the time with Windows. Well, a lot of those, the majority, are security updates because somebody's exploited a vulnerability in Microsoft and they were able to break in. So Microsoft said, hey, we fixed it. Here's your update. So there you are. Backup and disaster recovery is one of the main ways that you are going to be able to recover that data, even if somebody does something wrong. So say they were successful, right? Because even the best companies in the world, even the biggest companies in the world, still can't stop every attack, right? So what do we have to do? We have to prepare for the worst in case it does happen. So backup and disaster recovery, critical in your business. If you don't have it deployed, call IG Tech 365. We offer instant data recovery solutions along with cloud-based storage and those kind of things. And then another way to prevent it is making sure that you educate your people on password best practices. So not using that same password they use for everything on every application. Definitely not putting their password on a Post-it note stuck to their monitor, because that's not great. And then everybody else knows it, and then next thing you know, we have issues down the road. And that's just a couple of simple things that you can do to stop cyber attacks. A little bit of information on what cyber attacks are these days, and some of the ones that are very common that you could prevent just by having us or someone in your organization really key in on, hey, let's have a meeting, let's talk about some of the things that are going on, and preparing your employees in case something like this was to happen, and some of those signs and symptoms that are deployed that we should be on the lookout for. So once again, thank you for joining us. My name's Josh Holcomb. I'm the CIO for IG Tech 365. And once again, if you like the content, please like and subscribe below, and make sure you hit the notification bell. Have a great day.